Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the BEA show. So I'm here with my lovely co-host Saul. How are you doing today, Saul?
Good, thanks. Yeah, it's quite a nice day outside actually today. I've got a little sunlight in. It's been a bit miserable over the last couple of days, so it's not been too exciting. But how are you doing?
I'm all right. Just want to say, as we're starting, please excuse the potato quality. I'm currently back home with my parents rather than being at my own setup, so we just have to deal with what it is for now. But
Well,
we'll still bring you some great content.
absolutely.
So, first thing, I had an experience in the week that I wanted to talk to you about. It's relevant to what we spoke about last time with the ice creams.
Oh, okay, I'm wearing an ice cream shirt as well in celebration of that. Have you noticed? There you go.
On
Okay,
theme.
all links.
Um, so I know we spoke about like how sometimes it's ridiculous prices for a Mr. Whippy.
Yes.
And it's called a Whippy 99 for it to be 99p. You'd assume so. So my mum and my little brother went out to town and there was an ice cream van, as you do. And they paid £3.10 for a Mr. Whippy.
£3. Did that come with a flake? I hope.
No, it did not. £3.10.
What is going? No, it's nonsense. £3.10. I thought it was extortionate. So when we went to Insomnia, they had a little ice cream truck there, and that I think was like £2, maybe £2.50 for an ice cream, a Mr. Whippy. £3.10. What is going on?
Insane. Absolutely insane. I mean, you could go to a supermarket and buy a tub of ice cream for £3.10.
Yeah, you can buy like 3 tubs. I'm pretty sure that is madness.
Yeah, so I couldn't believe my mum actually paid it as well.
Yeah, that's true commitment to the ice cream cause at least. Well,
Yeah.
when you need an ice cream, you've got to have one, haven't you? I think that's just kind of the rule.
Yeah, so we went out for dinner last night and we went to Pizza Hut, but they have like bottomless ice cream.
Oh, okay.
So paying £3 for bottomless ice cream isn't too bad.
That's pretty reasonable. Yeah, you can
But
accept that.
£3.10 for one single little cone is too much.
Madness.
Ludicrous.
Again, I wish this was a call-in show. We need to call in, get some ice cream men or ice cream women on the line and be like, "Excuse me, what do you think about the prices of ice cream?"
Ice cream inflation.
Yeah. Oh dear. Well, yeah, I don't think I've had any ice cream experiences recently. I've been on a bit like a milkshake thing recently. I don't know what in particular has caused it. I'm so bad when I get like on this unhealthy kind of like food spree. I just tend to like it tends to go on for at least like 2 or 3 weeks, and then it'll just die off. Like I haven't had a milkshake in a couple of days now, but there's a certain point where yeah, I'll forget about milkshakes, and then I'll remember milkshakes exist, and it's like oh, I'm just gonna make milkshakes for like 3 weeks straight.
Yeah.
It's really not healthy, and I really should now that I don't work like in an office or whatever. So back when I used to be an IT technician, even though I used to sit at a desk all day, I at least when you get called to a classroom because something was wrong, I'd be upstairs, downstairs, walking classrooms
Yeah.
and big buildings and that. But now, because I just sit in this chair, I do nothing, and it's really bad. And I really should be doing some form of exercise.
What milkshake flavour though?
Oh,
What
see,
what's
I'm
yours?
the one that we tend to, if we ever make them at home, it tends to be Kinder Bueno more often than not, just because they're I think the easiest ones to just buy little packs of, and then you can just throw them in the blender and whatever, and it gets it done. Or do you have a particular preference?
I so want a Kinder Bueno. I've never had a Bueno, and I've said I'm gonna have a Bueno on my deathbed because
Nice.
if I'm gonna die anyway, I might as well just have the nuts and die too.
Fair.
Like, if we make like thick shakes, I have like Oreo. It's simple go to. Like when we go to Shakeaway and stuff. Oh,
Oh,
it's a black screen.
never mind.
When we go to like Shakeaway and stuff, it's Oreo all the way. But I really like vanilla milk. You know, like the thinner
Oh,
sort of
yes.
milkshake. I really like the vanilla stuff you can buy in the bottles
Yeah.
because it tastes vaguely of white chocolate, and that's the best.
Ah, it's not bad. I do like white chocolate. A lot of people I tend to speak to don't tend to like white chocolate all that much,
Oh,
but
I love it.
yeah, milky bars and stuff, well, nice. Love them.
Yes.
Now,
Right.
Bryony, question on my mind, and I'm sure the question on a lot of people's mind currently is Overwatch 2. Overwatch 2 just released in beta form just the other day. And you've had a little bit of a chance, although you didn't get the blowing initial access, did you? Sadly.
No, got the key last night. It's
Yeah.
all downloaded onto little brother's computer, so I can play later. But I had a little go of it yesterday when we went to the QM Samurai arena.
Yeah.
So we did that, and it was good fun actually. Very different.
Okay. What's like the main kind of differences? I guess initially, what did you want the differences to be? What did you want the like step up from 1 to 2 to be for you?
So I was expecting like a UI change, but I wasn't expecting it to be so dramatic
Okay.
and like the way it is. It was a very dramatic UI change. And it made everything feel very strange, but I think that's mainly because I've been playing since release.
Yeah.
So I'm so used to seeing everything the way it is that seeing it any different just makes me feel a bit strange. So the biggest one, Sojourn, the new hero. She's fun to play, but it just feels like a slightly less people are going to kill me for this, a slightly less fun Soldier 76.
So is this, if I'm right, is this the one that I've seen where it looks like Soldier 76, the gun's the same, but it's the power is like it shoots like you charge a little thing, it gets to 100, and then you shoot like a thing at the people.
Yeah.
Right, okay, I'm following, that's fine.
So it's essentially Soldier's tac visor ult for her ult, but she shoots rockets the same way that Soldier shoots rockets.
Right.
The slide is good if you do it properly, because it's the same way you sort of work a super jump as Mercy. That if you do the slide and you jump as you're coming out the end of it, you go like flying in the air, and you can get to different positions and things. But in terms of her bringing new stuff to the game and like a new age of Overwatch that they're sort of branding, it just does really feel like they've just taken bits of old heroes and shoved it into a new one because they've realised they haven't released a hero in 2 years.
Okay.
So, but I think, because you're a Rhine player, aren't you?
A little bit. I used to be. If I ever play tanks, it tends to be yes. I did used to when I was playing. I tended to lean towards more DPS just because that's who I am. And so the queue times always get ridiculous as they are. Soldier 76 was definitely like the one I liked the most just because he was straightforward enough, especially as well. But yeah, then when I tried tanks out, Reinhardt tends to be more so often than not the main one.
For me, I know obviously other characters have complete reworks, but it was the most different trying to play Ryan.
Okay, how different is he then? Is it quite different?
So his shield's got less health. He now has half of his health bar is armor, so he can regen.
Okay.
Every so often. But he has 2 flame strikes.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And the best one, the ability to cancel your charge.
Oh, just like mid-charge, you can just stop?
Yep. Game changer.
Oh, you can...
Because if you're about to throw yourself off the edge, you can stop.
Yeah.
Like...
Oh, that's really interesting.
What do you want?
Yeah.
But I played him briefly, but my little brother played him more, and he was just like, oh my god, I can throw 2 flame strikes. So they do slightly less damage than the original one, but you can throw 2, one after the other. So you can sort of maximize that damage output, which I think is quite cool. But it is, again, going to probably promote more DPS Rhines and DPS tanks, but I think I don't want to take over the whole thing.
No,
by
that's
just
okay.
talking about Overwatch.
It's good. This is what we need.
It feels like the supports really haven't been given much love and attention.
Right.
And it's now reached that point where, because there's only one tank and 2 DPS, and now all supports can regen health passively, the supports don't need to be supports anymore.
Okay. So just, I guess, to touch on that, the last I remember with Overwatch was that there was a hero lock in place where you'd had to be a certain amount of each thing on their team. Is that still the case then in this? Because I haven't actually checked this. Okay, that is the case. Right.
So it's 5v5 now.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. 5v5, yeah. Of course it is.
I think it's a mistake, but there's one tank, 2 DPS, and 2 healers.
Right.
I personally think you should be able to choose which role gets put on one. I think 2 tanks is much more beneficial than 2 DPS if we're going with 5v5, but that's just my point.
No, that makes sense.
It's just the support. It's giving the room for supports to be more lower class DPS. Because yes, they have the abilities to heal and things, and they probably should heal, but with their regens and all this new passive stuff, that I hope some of it doesn't make it in, because I like being a healer for the sake of being a healer.
Yeah.
It's gonna promote a lot more healers to not heal. How many times we'll have a counter? How many times I say healer or
Cool.
heal?
Yeah, nice.
So it promotes them to not do what they're actually supposed to as a healer, because they have enough support themselves that they can charge in and do damage and get the healing passively.
Right. So they're kind of they're much stronger, I guess, than they used to be, because you just go in normally and you die, wouldn't you? I guess potentially.
But I think the biggest one for me is Doomfist.
See, I don't think when I say stopped playing, when I played less frequently, Doomfist I think had just come out, and I never really got the chance to give him a go. So what's the differences now between him then and him now?
He's a tank.
Oh, so he's just a full-blown tank now?
He's got sort of stronger abilities, but more like shield protective. He's not got like a full-blown shield.
Right.
But he's got more of like a protective thing to help with the team, to compensate for the fact that he's a tank. However, he's still essentially played like a DPS.
Yeah.
And to me, with having only one tank and people picking Doomfist as that one tank and playing him like a DPS, it sort of defeats the object of having a tank role.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's frustrating for me. I play D.Va exclusively on tank. I don't play any other tanks, sometimes Zarya, but I'm good at D.Va.
Yeah.
So she hasn't changed, which is nice, but the fact that I can go against a Doomfist, who is already, as a character, ridiculously annoying if he's played well, now being their tank, so having a bit more strength and buff to stand up in front of the team, it becomes quite difficult playing as a squishy.
Right.
So I'm doing my best to protect the squishies in my mech, but as soon as I'm out of mech, I'm susceptible to everything. And it just becomes a bit much. So I'm not sure Doomfist being a tank is a good shout, but I would like to know more of the thought process behind it, because essentially, if you're going with that logic, then Symmetra should be a tank because he has a shield.
Right. Yeah.
And all that malark, I could go into it for ages about, but there's a lot. Overall, I'm impressed with it.
Yeah.
The maps are insanely good and insanely cool.
So has there been new maps added then as well? I know, I've got it downloaded. I still haven't tried it yet. So Excuse my
So
ignorance.
that's fine, honestly. So there's new maps for the game mode push,
Okay.
which you might have seen in the trailers and things. So 2CP maps are no longer a thing.
All right.
So, which is annoying because I liked some 2CP maps. Some I hated. But a lot of people are leaning more towards the New York map
Okay.
because it seems to be very well done. And based off of like actual landmarks and bits and bobs. And my favourite part is there's like a pigeon just eating a slice of pizza.
Nice. Classic.
What more could you want? But yeah, Push is essentially like a payload. It's a big robot. I can't remember if they've given him a name or not. But he starts off in the middle like a payload. He unlocks, and your team must have possession of the robot, and you have to push him all the way to your side of the map.
Right.
But,
And they have to push them into
yeah.
theirs. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, I'm following. I'm following.
But obviously you can contest, take over, you can it's just whoever gets it to their side first.
Yeah.
It's like a tug of war sort of thing.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't every time I played a quick play match, I didn't get push.
Oh no.
But I got on like King's Row and Route 66, which have new sort of looks. They're all the same stuff. They're just the environments and the weather's slightly different. It gives it all a bit of a different feel, which is quite nice. But I'm going to, even if I have to go in a custom game later to play Push, I will. And yeah, it looks fun. It looks good.
Yeah. Cool. So I guess my question, we're primarily like an esports podcast, technically, aren't we? Even though we don't necessarily always talk about esports stuff, but we're primarily an esports podcast. So I guess from an esports perspective, then, looking at what they've done with Overwatch 2 so far, do you have any, I guess, insight as to what some of the pro players are thinking? Have you seen any of the thoughts on like Twitter and things, or how, from your point of view, viewing it as an esport, how much more or less popular do you think it'll be than original Overwatch? Do you think they've done enough to kind of bring it back into the limelight?
Seen a bit of stuff, and the new Overwatch League season starts next week, and they've done over the last year like show matches, and like yesterday they did the beta bash. So they were just because they've had beta for ages, or alpha rather. So they've gotten used to these sort of things.
Yeah.
But I think just from my point of view, it will be quite interesting to see how the viewership of Overwatch League matches goes up. Because like yesterday there was like 1.6 concurrent viewers on Twitch across just in Overwatch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I
quite
know
big.
people were trying to find beta keys. But that's still a ridiculous amount of people compared to what they normally get.
Yeah, I think I saw somewhere it's like the highest they've ever had, like in that category on Twitch.
Yeah. So I think whilst it's still fresh and new and it's this big thing for everyone at the moment, I think it's going to pull in a lot more like new viewers. But then I think as soon as it doesn't become topical, it might just drop back to where it was. But it really depends on how they take the approach of doing it as an esport sort of thing. Because essentially everything else is the same bar push. And, 5v5.
Yeah.
But I think I'm just going to keep talking about it. I think the biggest thing for me that is going to make a difference is people who were professional DPS players who main Doomfist
Course,
are now going to be sort of shoved into the tank role. Without enough, they've had basically like 6 years of practice with Doomfist. That's why they're that good at him. And now he's changed. And they might get forced into being a tank role with this rework. I have a feeling some players they will rise to the challenge. That's what they do, but it's going to be hard to transition.
Yeah.
And it's also going to be hard in the competitive sense, not having a second tank to rely on. Because you can rely on the rest of the team, but the tanks work together. There's no doubt about the fact that the tanks work together to make everything work. And with only having one, if you're playing not a shield,
Yeah.
it can make everything quite difficult, especially with everyone else being squishy behind you. But I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. I think I've seen a few of the competitive matches of Push, which were quite fun. It was very back and forth, as you'd expect for like professionals.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing where it goes and what happens, really.
Yeah. Do you have a team that you're supporting mainly when it comes to Overwatch League starting again?
Always Spitfire.
Perfect. Okay.
I can't leave them. They won the first year. They can do it again.
Nice.
Yes. Do you follow Overwatch League much, or?
Not at all, to be honest. Really, I'm like familiar or semi-familiar with some of the players, and I watched, I think, maybe the odd stream. I used to initially, my interest came from when Dua and Monte Cristo made the leap from League of Legends to Overwatch League, and I really like them both as casters. And so I thought, well, if they're moving over, Overwatch must be pretty interesting then enough to grab their attention. So I initially watched for that period of time, but then I guess it's just kind of dwindled off. There's too many esports to watch. I swear down. It's so hard to keep track of so many things. Like even just within League of Legends alone, like all the different regions and everything else that you've got to keep up with if you want to be in the know, especially now that things like MSI are starting in a couple of weeks and all the international teams come together, and you need to know who's going to be good and who's not going to be good if you want to follow properly. So yeah, Overwatch, it kind of dwindled a little bit, but I've always enjoyed like the game itself, even like on a small scale. I used to love, even though I never used to play it properly in like a competitive sense, I used to love Team Fortress 2, and so it being very similar to Team Fortress 2 with the classes and everything else definitely appealed to me when it first came out. But yeah, I've never really like properly got into Overwatch, I think, as much as maybe I used to, especially now anyway.
I'm still fully behind the fact that I need to get on a call with you guys or a stream. Just get the whole gang together and I will teach everyone to play Overwatch properly. But I think the time is now to do it while Overwatch, the original version, is still in its prime.
Yeah.
That's controversial to say that it's in its prime. It is, for me, genuinely. It has been in its prime for the last 6 years. I've enjoyed every minute.
Cool.
But yeah, I think it's pretty good. I'm excited to see where it goes, and I hope I get invited to the next beta before it actually comes out. Yeah. Otherwise, I'll be sad again.
Have they given a proper release date yet? Or just
no.
left it intentionally vague? So
they've said the 17th of May is the end of the first beta. And then they said they're going to do some changes and then do another beta before they're going to set for release. So my feeling is it's either going to be really late this year or next year. We'll see though.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years since they announced it.
I'm going to say it's been a while since like the first word came around that Overwatch 2 was going to be releasing, so I guess any time is a good time because let's just get on with it.
Yeah. Everyone's anticipating it.
Yeah. Well, I guess to round us out then with this episode, a very Overwatch-centric episode, but I think rightly so with it just coming out, and obviously our resident Overwatch expert in yourself, Bryony.
Yes.
Exactly. To round us out then, not really, I guess, Overwatch related, but I was thinking in terms of for the this or that this week, in terms of like heroes and different classes and things. And it got me thinking more about like RPG games and RPG games I like to play. And now when it comes to RPG games, obviously you have a lot of freedom, especially with like things like Fallout, Cyberpunk, and those kind of games, in the kind of builds that you can do. And I don't know if you have a particular preference, Bryony, but the question this week for this or that is gun builds versus sword builds. Do you have a particular preference out of the two?
Oh, do you want to go first so I can think?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I always used to be initially a gun person just because I liked the idea of I could stand far away and hit people, and if I did loads of damage, it'd just take them out, and I could like clear areas really easily. But I've really more recently, and especially because I think I say this in every podcast, but I really like stealth games. Everyone, did you know? I don't know if everyone knows this already, but because I'm a really big fan of the stealth games and stealthy stuff, swords and like sneaking up on people and like just doing melee damage and things. That's always really, really appealed to me. And so now, more so that there are those kind of options in games to do sword builds. And Cyberpunk was especially one where you could go crazy on the sword builds and you could have your katanas and you could go mad with all the abilities in there. I think sword builds takes my preference potentially more so than gun builds. But I think that's only just kind of come about recently. I was definitely leaning more towards gun builds back in the day, especially as well, I guess, still on the stealth angle. I wanted to do like all the sniping and stuff. So if it was gun build, it's like, right, I'm going to get a sniper. It's going to be headshots every time, and you're not going to be able to stop me, and I'll just take everyone out before they even know I'm there. But I really like the sword builds and stuff. I think as well, that's why I kind of like games like Sifu, for example, where it's all like the melee and the fighting and stuff. I think
Yeah.
something about that really appeals to me. I don't know what it is, but something really does. But yeah, so I think sword builds potentially is my answer for this week.
I think I'm gonna have to go with guns.
Okay.
I've always liked seeing what I could do in terms of modding a gun
Right, yeah.
in a game. And I would like to say I'm a decent sniper. I'm not in Overwatch, as it's on topic, but in literally most other games, I'm like a decent sniper. So getting it modded and like putting like different sort of ammo in it, like environmental damage ammo and like fire damage, and just doing loads of bits and bobs, and then like working to do that stealthy sort of stuff with silencers. And I just really like modding weapons to suit me.
Yeah.
I think Cyberpunk was good for swords and that sort of stuff, but I think I enjoyed the gun side of it a bit more. Mainly because with the fact that I pre-ordered it, I got some half decent guns to start out when
of course.
other people would have to like play through the game first to get it. So I started on a high with like a really good weapon and just went from there and modded it. I was going to say something bad then. There's no swearing on the BEA show.
Self-censoring, we like it.
I modded it completely out, and no one could touch me. I wouldn't take damage. One shot, dead. Sniping from afar, dead. It was great.
Yeah.
So I think I prefer playing around with guns, seeing what I can do with those.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's definitely fun when you get to that point where it's just you've got the max stats on your gun. It's just like, pal, you're out of here, fella.
Yes.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, there you go. I hope you guys at home potentially have some interesting answers for that question this week. That just about rounds us out. I guess the elephant in the room, Brian, is that yes, we are the BEA show, but we're no longer the BEA, technically. We're now the British Esports Federation, so we potentially need a new podcast name. So if there is anyone who has interesting podcast names, anyone listening or watching out there, please let us know, because we might consider them, because we probably do need a new name at this point. Or the A is just going to stand for something else, and you can all just accept it, and that'll just be it. Who knows?
I stand by the BEE show.
Oh, the BEE
The British
show.
Esports show.
Oh, perfect. Oh, there we go. There we go. I'll write that one down.
We'll see what our lovely viewers would like to have, but it could be fun. We had a few back burner ideas. We could pull those out.
That's true. We still have a document somewhere with lots of names on.
Yes.
Perfect.
Well,
Well,
we'll figure it out.
Bryony, thanks again for being here. Thank you for your Overwatch insight. I think it's definitely interesting, especially now with it just coming out Overwatch 2. I think a lot of people's interest in Overwatch might be renewed slightly. So getting someone with as much insight as you have, as someone who's played the game for a while, I think is always gonna be interesting. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It's always good to talk to you.
Excellent. And thank you everyone for listening and watching. If you'd like to see previous episodes, you can find us on YouTube and Spotify. And if you'd like to suggest any upcoming topics or interview guests potentially, because we have been guestless obviously these last two podcasts, please let us know if you'd like us to invite anyone particularly on the podcast and we can see what we can do. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.